Good morning to all viewers of Objetivismo Brasil. Today we have Tal Tsfany, who is the CEO of the Ayn Rand Institute. He's an entrepreneur, an investor, and a business executive in the technology field. He was VP of Customer Success at Mulesoft and served as board member at Base CRM, a fast-growing company based in Mountain View, California. So nowadays, just to reinforce, he's the CEO of the Ayn Rand Institute, and he's with us today to discuss happiness. So welcome. Yeah, what leads to happiness, exactly. So thanks for being with us, with me and Ricardo today, Tal, and let's have a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
So Tal, the first question is we usually like to start with basics. So what is individualism?
Individualism. Well, it's good that we're starting there because I think it's one of the prerequisites of really understanding what human happiness is all about. It comes from the word individual, which means me, just me. Because we can make up a lot of concepts about the world, and we as Brazilians or Americans or Israelis, whatever that is, but there's only me. I mean, look at the world. There's only me and you and him and her, right? And so we're all individuals, and we're individual organisms living and sustaining their own lives. And that's what Ayn Rand identifies as the core concept. And if we move from, we start from ethics and then we move to politics, this is the unit that takes care of itself and sustains its life. And it's the center of the universe for itself. I mean, I am the center of the universe, and you are the center of your universe of yourselves. And your goal is to serve and your life the best possible way. So core individualism appreciates and acknowledges that they're really only individuals. And another aspect of individualism is that we're all different. We're not like ants. We're not like squirrels. As you know, I love squirrels. They run all over the forest right here in my window every day. They all do the same thing. I mean, you cannot really differentiate one squirrel from another. But humans, show me two humans that are alike. You can't, because we're conceptual beings and we create our own character. So it's true that as a species, we survive in the same ways. I mean, we all need to drink, we all need to eat and sleep and so on. But beyond the kind of the basic necessities, we're different animals. I mean, some people like to work alone, right? And don't want people to disturb them. And some people cannot live without, a lot of noise and people around them. Some people want to run long distances. Some people hate running, right? So the values that we incorporate into our lives are completely different. This is why as humans, we need to express and manifest our individualism. And that is, if you think about the politics, this is the kind of environment we need to express our individualism. And for that, we need freedom. So for me, individualism is at the core of who we are metaphysically and epistemologically. I mean, we are what we make ourselves. We build our own character. Then ethically, you should know yourself and your values and pursue them in a rational way. And then politically, it's leave me alone to be me, right? Because I need the freedom to express my own individuality. So for me, that is what individualism means.
Leave me alone to be me is a good description of what politics is about. I'll steal that one. How is individualism tied to selfishness?
It's a good point. Selfishness is the attitude, I think, in which you can express your individualism. By that, I mean, you should orient yourself and your purpose and your goals towards taking care of you. Because if you think about it, a lot of people, even if they are left free, would not know where to start to be selfish and to take care of themselves, because their code, their compass is oriented towards helping other people, right? Making sure others are doing fine. I don't really matter, right? So they will never really flourish as human beings and individuals because they're not oriented to make themselves the best that they can be. selfishness is a code of morality, of ethics that says, look, no matter what anyone told you, what kind of religion you were born into, the family, whatever, the tribe, right? It's not true that you owe your life to anyone else. Your real purpose in life is to discover who you are and what you want to do, pursue those values, and that's how you achieve happiness. So we'll talk about happiness, which is maybe a later concept, but in order to be happy and to flourish as a human being, you need to be self-oriented, self-interested, like your inner world. Nobody can access it other than you, right? Like, what do I respond to? What do I love? What do I enjoy doing? What kind of people do I enjoy being around? Those are the really important questions. And so if you are taught by somebody else not to care about this, then there's something wrong with them, right? They're orienting you against yourself. So selfishness for me is the direction, the attitude, the purpose of putting myself in the middle, right? And caring about who I am and what I want.
So is there a process to figuring out who you are and what you want? Because there's a sense in which that seems easy, right? It seems like, oh, you just like impulsive. I'll just do whatever I feel like doing, right? A certain emotionalism, let's say, or immediatism.
Well, I would, I think it's a little bit more nuanced. First, it's a lifelong process. It never ends. I mean, you change all the time. What you wanted at 16 is not what you wanted at 20, at 25, 30, 40. No matter how old you are, it's always changing because once you get things, you want other things. So first, I do think that people get really easily confused, for a good reason, by the way, between emotionalism and being rationally oriented towards values, because it does start from an emotional reaction, right? If I go to a party, right, and I meet someone and I really like them, right? It's an emotional reaction. It's like, wait a second, what happened here? Why did I react to that person, right? And then you apply your reason to see what kind of virtues or kind of traits do they have that made you respond to them. So it's a cycle of emotional responses that give you almost like a flag from your subconscious, like there's a value here. We want more of this. Or you ate something really good and it's really delicious. Or you started doing something new, a new type of hobby that somebody introduced you to, and you respond to it. So it starts with an emotional reaction, which is a flag for your subconscious saying, this is important, this is interesting, this is exciting. And then rationally, you try to unpack, like, what's in it? Because if somebody offers you heroin, and I don't know why, but you try it for once, and it's like, whoa, well, that was a trip, right? And you want to do it again, this is emotionalism for me. I mean, you got an emotional reaction, and now you're trying to apply your reasons, like, is it really good for me? Is that person good for me, right? Let's say that person was really attractive, but there was something off about the way, they presented themselves. I think they're faking. So will that person be good for me? Even though they're very attractive, is it smart to maybe start a deeper relationship with them? So it's a cycle. It is a process of emotional reactions that you then put on the table. And I think with the power of introspection, you apply reason to say, what's in it? What is the value here? Is it good for me? Because not everything that looks shiny is shiny, is good. So that's the difference between us and animals. Maybe, my dog, I'm sure if I'll give him something really smelly, but it's poison, will not think twice, it'll eat it. We have to be smarter, right? Because we have another faculty, the conceptual rational faculty, that allows us to, not just lead by emotion and by, just innate feelings or desires or, some kind of a compulsion, but stop for a second and think about the long term. And what's good for you is what's good for you in the span, in the context of human life. So that it is a process. I would say most people don't know. I'm doing the happiness team where I try to build a bridge between Rand's philosophy and what does it mean to me, Tal, right? How do I take that philosophy, that blueprint, and enrich my life with the power of understanding of how Rand thinks about human happiness and flourishing? And it's not easy. It's not easy. I would dare each and every one of you asking yourself, who am I? Try to answer that simple question, and you'll find that it's not that easy to answer, because you'll get to the conclusion that in order to answer that question, you have to really be very clear about the things you love, because the things you respond to in a way define who you are, right? There's no way to open your mind and see who Mateus or Ricardo is. I cannot see you other than the way, the style in which you behave and the things you react to, right? So your choices on how to live and what to pursue. And those things are not clear to most people. They haven't given enough thought to say, what do I really want? What will be very meaningful to me with all the constraints and the messiness of reality? I mean, if you want to be an opera singer and you don't have the voice for it, forget it. Don't do it. Even though it's your passion, go watch opera all day. Great, amazing. Maybe work in an opera. Maybe be a director. I don't know, what kind of marketer of the opera house, right?
Or just
again, it's not leading with emotion. Yeah.
Or just operate within your limits. Right?
Yeah,
So
or just do it for fun, discovering and identifying your values and then figuring out a rational way to pursue them is a continuous challenge. And like you said, it's a process. It's always an evolving process. What I have in front of me, by the way, you can't see it, is a big whiteboard. And what I have in front of me is what I call my value galaxy. All the things that I find really meaningful in my life, organized into categories of career pursuits, relationships, hobbies, rejuvenation, art, and things like wealth creation. Because money, by the way, is only a means to an end, but it's an important means. I mean, it buys me the time to go and pursue my values. Sometimes it's connected to my pursuit. So if I, work at the Ayn Rand Institute, I get paid. I get two things. One is a very inspiring work, and I get paid. Not necessarily. People don't know that, oh, I can make money this way and enjoy my time in those ways. So a lot of people are just stuck in this, oh, I should find my passion and it needs to pay my bills. And no, there's a lot of rational ways to go about pursuing as many values as possible.
Yeah. So let's get to happiness. So what is happiness, and how is that tied to introspection?
What do you guys think is happiness? I'm interested.
Well, I have the cheat code, right? I know Rand's.
You know Rand's definition, right?
Right.
But what would you say if you go around Porto Alegre, right, and you ask people, "Are you happy?" What do you think you'll get 95% of the time?
Brazilians are pretty happy people in the general sense of the word.
Yeah, I agree with that. By the way, the sense of life I get in the street in Brazil is amazing. By the way, it reminds me a little bit of Israel. Israel is people are pretty happy in Israel. They're very nervous, and agitated, but and so Brazilians. By the way, Brazilians I find are they care a lot about their freedom and their liberty, because they know what it means to their lives. So
yeah, I think the average Brazilian or the person from Porto Alegre, I think they tie happiness to struggle. Even though that seems like a contradiction, in the sense that they are trying to have a better life for themselves and for their families and children. And I think part of the issue that we have in our country is there's so much regulation and corruption and so on, that you simply can't work more hours. Right? Most Brazilians, if they could work 10, 15, 20 extra hours, they would do it to provide for their families like a better quality of life. Yeah. But they can't because of all kinds of legislations and lack of market opportunity. So I think there's too much a view of it's trying to give my family a better life than what I had. Yeah, that's the sense I have.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, most people see, especially if you're coming, from a poor family and so on. It's true that the first thing you should go after is economical financial security. I mean, that's the basic. I mean, if you don't have a house to live in and food to eat, then forget about pursuing other values. Yeah, I think that like everywhere else in the world, if you ask people in the street, they'll say, yeah, I'm happy, because they don't really understand the depth of that concept of being happy. I mean, for me, happiness is a state of flourishing, thriving to your highest potential. And you can argue, like, how would I even know what my highest potential is? And my answer is, you have to discover it. But you know what you're capable of. I mean, all of us, with enough time with ourselves, will develop some kind of a reputation with ourselves, our self-esteem that says, wow, I'm pretty smart. I mean, I can do things. I'm very interested in those things. I know that I can pursue them, and so on. So for me, again, if we go to Rand's definition, it's very clarifying, because you said it's a state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievements of one's values. So she doesn't give you really the how it feels, which was something we can talk about, but she talks about how to get it. So if you read that backwards, it's go choose your values very rationally that are kind of your values. You have to discover what it is that you respond to, the things you find meaning in, right? That's, I think, the most challenging part. It's the most strategic part of that formula, right? What do I really want? What do I respond to? What's good for me? And then you develop a plan to achieve it, right? Some things will take you 10 years, 15 years. Some things will take you 2 months or a day. And then the achievement of those values is giving you some kind of a feedback loop that enriches your state of consciousness or elevates it to a point where, like, wow, I'm happy. Now, let me enrich that with how do I experience happiness? For me, happiness is like a climate. It's not the weather. It's not like I wake up, now it's, I don't know, Wednesday, I'm happy, and yesterday I was sad. No, for me, the best quote for happiness is, I know how to live. I know how to live. I mean, I know myself, I know what I love, and I've put myself in a position to be engaged with the things that I find meaning in, like this conversation. You see, I have a lot of energy. This is how a happy person looks like. I'm engaged, I'm interested, I choose to be here and not anywhere else. Ask yourself, are you doing those things in all walks of life? I mean, your hobbies, your career, your relationships, romantic, friends, family, making money, and so on and so forth. So for me, that's a much deeper sense of living, rather than making it, you know, making it happen just financially, you know, or just I'm getting by, right? So if people have that level, very low standard of like getting by is happy, as long as I'm not dead. You hear it's like we're still above ground, right? So I'm happy. It's like, no, this is not happy. This is just living, sustaining your life. If you want to be really happy, I mean, and think about the heroes when we talk about like a Steve Jobs or you know, your favorite I don't know, artist or someone you admire. They're living. I mean, they found their passion and they're living it. It's, by the way, and it's not found their passion as if it's there and you have to find it like I don't know. You have to build your soul towards something. You have to develop your interest towards something. It's a heroic journey. That's the way I think about it. So if you want to raise the standard to say that's what Tal is talking about here is what I want, right? Then there's a whole process you have to follow in order to get to that level, and not just getting by, which is what a lot of people do. They just follow whatever, you know, family business, whatever their father told them to do, they follow that and they make a good living. They marry someone, they have kids, great. You know, some fun things on the weekend, which describes, unfortunately, the lives of many, many people around us, right? For me, that's not happiness. That's getting by. That's not individualism. That's not discovering who you are truly.
So how does happiness tie with knowledge? Let me give you a few examples. You know, so when you're trying to achieve your values, you have to understand how to achieve them. And sometimes it's just, let's say you want to get a master's in a given field. You have to understand how to go about getting into a master's program and going through the work, right? Just something, I'll give you a personal example. I'm playing volleyball again a lot, and I'm working out like a lot during the week, and I want to jump higher, and I want to jump, which is a very specific thing, and I want to jump higher so I can be a better spiker in volleyball, right? Because I enjoy being good. Now, generally speaking, I play with people and I'm the best, but I'm in a team where I'm the worst, basically the worst. And I want to be the best in that team because that's a good team, right? So I have to work out. Now, I know how to work out. So like I have a knowledge of how to work out. But one of the things I was doing wrong is I wasn't working on my core and my lower back. So what's the consequence? I didn't realize how important those muscles were to jumping, just oblivious to it, just ignorance. So then what's the consequence? My back began hurting, like crazy hurting. So I talked to my wife, I talked to Emily, and she said, well, you should work on your core because that's tied to your jumping. I was like, that makes sense. So that's a piece of knowledge I didn't have. Okay, now I go implement it, right? But if I hadn't asked her, I could go, I would become like a injured athlete. And I would be
or just give it up because it hurts, right?
Give it up, right? And so that happens in various aspects. So when I know what I have to do, when I have the knowledge of the types of action I have to take, then I understand the process. Then I can pursue it. Then I'm in the game. It's the same thing with work. The last 2 or 3 weeks, I spoke to a very smart tech entrepreneur, and he gave me some advice on how to better build a startup. And that's great. Like I didn't know these things. Now I understand it. And then I can act on it. But what happens is if I don't have the knowledge, do you see what my question is?
Yeah. By the way, let me ask you, now that you have more knowledge on how to pursue your values, is it more exciting or less exciting?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. So there are two emotions. One is relief, because not knowing what to do to me is frustrating. Yeah. So when I get it, and it's very immediate because my epistemology is better because I went through the OAC, right? So if I hadn't, I wouldn't understand what people are saying. So it's relief. And then the second is excitement, because I know what to do. I understand, I can understand the steps. And then it's just...
So the reason why I asked you is that you see, your values are enriching. I mean, volleyball became even more interesting. Now that you say, hey, if I strengthen my core, I can spike better, I can improve my technique. And, so what I'm saying is that this is the process of discovery, discovery of values. Yeah, in the beginning, it's just a vague notion of like, yeah, volleyball is fun. It's a team sport. But the more you deepen your understanding of something, you'll see it's almost an endless pit of knowledge. I mean, you can dedicate your life to volleyball and you'll still not master it. The same as people dedicate their lives to tennis or to whatever. That it's an endless well of knowledge and experiences that you can have. And the more you get into it, the more interesting in it. By the way, not necessarily. Sometimes, I don't know if you have that feeling where you get in deep into something, and at one point it's like, enough of that, right? I don't want to go into I know what it takes to be a better bass player, okay? But I'm playing at a level, it's enough for me. I don't want to spend more time. So there's also the acknowledgement that you have a limited time. And that's really the constraint. What are you going to spend time on? So going back to your knowledge question, yes, you should be a seeker of knowledge. And the more knowledge you have, the richer your life become, because your values can be deeper and more meaningful. And the level of your achievements will be higher, giving you more self-esteem to go then. And I think about myself starting a startup, right? I was clueless as far as what I know today, but then I was like, I own the world. I mean, so it's always contextual, right? The deeper you go, the better. And you have to appreciate that. That you're always in a process of learning more and more. And I'm sure that 10 years from now, I'll look at what I'm doing right now. It's like, oh, I should have known better, right? So it's gaining knowledge, but also appreciating that you're always in a search for more. It's just a never ending. And you have to be positive. The attitude should be like, this is a journey. Will it always be nice and fun? No. This is what I call, this is why every story you've ever seen, every movie has very simple milestones. Somebody wants something very bad. It's very hard to get it. Talk about the challenge, right? Because if it was easy, who cares? And they got it, or a version of what they wanted, right? Because sometimes you discover that what you thought you wanted in the beginning is not exactly what you really wanted. And then they got it, right? So they got the what they wanted, and that's the heroic journey, and that's what we're all trying to live, our own hero's journey.
So far, we have discussed a lot about the proper definition of individualism, happiness overall. And one thing that Ricardo said when we were discussing about the sense of life in Brazil, for example, or Israel, he was talking about some collective restraints, in a sense, regulations and other sort of things. One question that I wanted to ask you, and then you can give a brief introduction about your origins in Israel, is does one's choice of values depend on one's culture? And is happiness culturally bound? I mean, you can say that there is a place where people are overall happier or not, or is it just an individual thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think where the environment you're born to either is supporting individualism and the pursuit of values, or it's diminishing it and interfering. So if you think about someone who's born in North Korea right now, what is their capacity to really flourish and be themselves? They're told what to do and they're treated like an ant, right, rather than a human from the day they're born. So yeah, your culture and your political environment really affects your ability to thrive, because it's like it either nurtures the humanity in you, or it just diminishes it dramatically. So I think that's like a basic platform on which you stand, right? Yes, I think, of course, I moved from Israel to the United States because I think I'll be happier here. I see more fulfilled people around me. Some people are not, by the way. They don't know how to use that freedom because they have the wrong philosophy. So I think you need both a political environment, but also a personal ethical philosophy that guides you towards pursuits that will really make you happy. I think there's other things that that affect you. I mean, your environment where you're a very young kid, it really affects the way you build your own soul and your own personality. I think it's a combination. For me, it's obvious it's a combination of the hardware and the software. By that I mean, when I held my first child, he was a specific type of baby, right? He was very calm, very easy. When my second child was born, she was the opposite. I mean, she was much more tense. She was the way she reacted to touch was different. She was much more loud. We thought we were great parents with the first one until the second one came and proved us wrong. So yeah, there is a hardware for sure. They have different temperament, and you see it's a different hardware that they're running with. But then over time, they evolve the way they choose to evolve. So it's a combination. I think we should think about it. But the things you can't control are given. I mean, you can't control who you were born to as far as a family or a country. But I made a Facebook post once, and I was really happy with it because I said, here's the ultimate proof of individualism, right? I don't live in the place I was born. I speak a different language. I believe the opposite values of what I was brought up to believe in. I rejected my religion, and I really redesigned my whole life. The people around me, my environment. I was never around the forest. Now I live inside a forest, right? I chose where I want to live. who I want to live with and how I want to live. I wish that for everyone. I mean, I know some people are stuck where they live. They can't get a visa to the United States. Yeah, work on it. Try to get one. What can I tell you if that's what you want to do, or find the best environment for you? So I think it's a combination: nurture, nature, and the way you develop yourself. Don't worry about the things you can control, right? Just focus on the things you can control and do the best with what you have, right? So yeah, I wish I had a much, I was much taller. I could play basketball. So what, so I found other things to pursue. So it's all about being, again, going back to reason, which Ayn Rand puts in the center of the human experience, right? Be reasonable. What can you, if you live in Porto Alegre and that's where you were born, and that's where, is it good for you? Yes, stay there, do the best you can. Not good for you, move. Do you want to move to Sao Paulo and, seek better opportunities? Good. Brazil is not where you want to live. You want a different culture. Try to move to other countries. It's your life. You only have one life, and you need to make the most out of it. We're talking about. I always tell people in my happiness team, it's your story. It's your hero's journey. The question: how interested is it going to be? And think about it. Jeff Bezos always talks about the path of least regret. Put yourself at 90 years old and reflect backwards. Right? Am I living a life that I won't regret? And if you're seeing big gaps, we're like, of course I'll regret. I could have done this and I could have done that, but I didn't. Usually we're always regretting things we didn't do, not things we did and failed, right? Because of the fear of failure. Go ahead and do it. What do you have to lose? Yeah, you might fail, but most probably, as they said, failure is the building blocks of success. You can't succeed without failing, without learning. So that is how I think about, my culture, my people, my tribe. Yeah, they affect me, but it doesn't define me.
One of the things that happens when you're talking about your context, your collective context, and especially given the faulty ethics that most people adopt in their lives, when you talk about the virtues, for example, the objectivist virtues overall, people always make the connection of virtues in the appliance to other people. For example, I have to be just, to apply the virtue of justice in my relationship with Ricardo, for example. And there's nothing to do with me, with my life, just on my relationship with others. And one thing that really, that I've heard a lot, that there was an article of Roberto, I believe, talking about this, is that people tend to see kind of a conflict between happiness and responsibility, for example, because you have always to think about the other person first. So you have to be responsible. For example, you have a duty. I have a duty with Ricardo or with my kids, with my family. And only then I'm going to think about my life and the things I want to pursue. So is there this conflict about between happiness and responsibility?
It is a made-up conflict that is injected into the culture through philosophies. So if you think about it, why is there a conflict between me focusing on me and doing whatever is good for Tal and Ricardo's life or your life, right? If I rationally, and again, this is the thing about reason and emotionalism, right? If I rationally pursue my values, I will very easily conclude that the best way for me to interact with you is in a just way, because once I mistreat you and I treat you unjustly, you're going to do the same for me. And now I'm living in an environment where people are treating each other unjustly, right? Do you want to lie to people? Try it, see what happens, right? So if you really think about it, and this is what Rand says in all of her work, get the fallacy of the altruistic premise, which means we're working against each other, right? You have to take care of me, I need to take care of you, and if you take care of yourself, it's again. Here's the psychological, epistemological trick. Take the word selfish. It has two meanings. If you blend two meanings in one word, you confuse everyone. And this is how you do it. When I say Ricardo is selfish, I'm saying two things. One, Ricardo thinks about himself. What's wrong with that? We all think about ourselves. You know, we brushed our teeth this morning, we ate breakfast. Why did you do that? That's so selfish of you, right? So one is a good thing. The other thing is like, yeah, but he doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about the others. Said who? Right? So if you take two different behaviors and you merge them into one word, you confuse everybody, and then the two words are like one. That means that people cannot separate between I'm good for myself from I don't care about other people. If you cannot be one or the other, and if they always come together, of course it's bad, because it means that Ricardo being selfish is always bad to Mateus, right? But it's not true. You separate it out. So this is how deep the altruistic philosophy goes. They go into epistemology, they make up words, social justice, you know, Black Lives Matter. They would come up with all kinds of words to confuse the way you think, because the tools of cognition and thinking are words. So what Ayn Rand does on an epistemological level, she identifies the fallacies, the errors in those definitions. She says, no, selfish, if we just define it as taking care of yourself, is always the good. And by the way, by being selfish, you should care about other people because they're part of your environment, part of your happiness. So they come together, right? Now let's make another word, irrationally, you know, obnoxious to other people. That's a different thing. That's an irrational way to, and if you separate the two, it's like, wait a second. So suddenly selfish is good. So look, we have to understand that we're fighting a very serious fight. That's what was the gist of my talk at the forum that I did with IFL in Sao Paulo. By the way, I urge everybody to listen to it, because it's basically saying, all you freedom fighters in Brazil, you're wasting your time. You're coming to a battle with rifles, and your enemy is coming with nuclear bombs. Good luck, right? If you want to fight the fight effectively, understand what is that kind of battle. And the battle is philosophical. It's not political. It's ethical and it's epistemological. We have to know what is the good, and then we win. Not just say, oh, well, let's be capitalists because it works, right? Who cares what works? We all want to be good. So yeah, that's how complicated this thing is. Collectivism and altruism are very sophisticated. This is why they're winning.
Yeah. So just to go back a little bit to the individual happiness. So the positive, right, not the negative.
Yeah.
So
always better to go to that, because, you know, regardless of what's happening in the world, the most important thing you should be thinking about every day is your individual happiness. Yeah.
So how are one's happiness and lifestyle related to happiness?
How one lifestyle is related to happiness?
One's habits.
Habits. Okay.
Yeah,
habits are the way you program yourself. So what are habits? How are habits formed? You think in a specific way, then you act in a specific way, and then you do it over and over and over. So it goes from a conscious effort to a subconscious automation, or kind of automatized behavior, right? So this is how the human mind works, right? In the beginning, it's hard to acquire a new habit, right? And then it's slowly, almost like as an osmosis kind of process, goes into the subconscious. And then I wake up I don't have to think about it. I go to the sink, I brush my teeth, right? Sometimes like, how did I get here with my car? I remember thinking about things. I don't remember driving. This is how subconscious a habit can be. The question is, if you look at your habits, are they adding to your happiness or not? Let's say you smoke and you know it's not good for you. I mean, your lungs are getting worse. Is it going to be hard to stop smoking? Yes. But can you make it a habit? Yes. The question is, do you have the perseverance and the attitude towards it where you say, no, I'm going to stop smoking. It's not good for me. So don't take habits as a given. Oh, I'm just eating a lot. No, look, I just lost about 7-8 pounds because I wanted to shell off some fat, and I did. What it took is a new nutrition plan that was very hard to stick to in the beginning, but I made it easy for myself to see what actually works for me. So for instance, I'll give you an example. How do you change a habit? I knew that I need to be very clear on what I eat and what I don't eat. So I put like on the refrigerator 2 options per meal. And whenever I got to the refrigerator, I said, I can either eat this or that. So I just, I'm not going to eat yogurt. I'm going to eat an omelet. That's it. 2 things for breakfast. And then it's clear for me that what works for me. Some people require some other things, but you do it enough times. Right now, I don't want pancakes or anything like that because I just decided it is important for me. And this is, by the way, how you gain self-esteem. If you see yourself deciding to go after something, even though it's hard and you're not used to it and you don't have the knowledge, right? But you make a plan that works for you and you stick with it. Happiness is a challenge. It's an achievement. It's not the default. I think you alluded to in one of your previous questions. It's like, it's not having fun all the time, right? Although I have nothing against fun. I think you should be driven by you need to seek fun and excitement and pleasure, right? So don't make a lot of objectivists, by the way, think about it like, oh, here's another duty. I have to be rational and long-term. No, have a lot of fun. Yeah, drink something. It's okay, at the end of the day. So you have to be just rational about how to maximize your pleasure on an ongoing basis. I mean, I would much rather look fit and healthy rather than just eating all the time. And sometimes when I see a really good, cake that I love, I'll eat it. But then I'll know that I've consumed a lot of calories, so I should take that into consideration the next day. I won't eat it every day. So look, it's a struggle. It's a struggle, but a good one. I mean, otherwise, why? Think about the fact that, Ricardo, you're the best volleyball player in the world, given. You're the richest person in the world. Here, I'm giving it to you. You got any girl you want in the world, she's yours. You're married, so sorry, Emily. I'll find out other examples. Everything you want, you got it. You're going to be so miserable. And that's what people don't get about money, by the way. Look at how rich people. Do they have a different type of existence? No, they just go after more and more and more values. Look at Jeff Bezos, right? Did Amazon, great. Don't like it anymore. I'm going to move to Blue Origin and now try to get people to the moon. Why? Stop, rest, enjoy life, right? He enjoys life. I'm sure he enjoys life, but that's not what makes him happy. So again, it's in the appreciation of really how deep the concept of happiness is. This is why I would say truly happy. If you look around you, not many people are, unfortunately.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit? And so I've heard you talk about this process of figuring out what your values are and the kinds of actions you have to take and this reevaluation and so on. Can you give us a preview or the 5-minute summary of what's the practical thing that I the listener, what can I do? How can I think better about how to go about my life and be happier?
I think I can summarize it in several questions. The first question you have to answer is, who am I? And the answer to that question is through your values. So you have to develop some clarity around what are the things that I find interest in. And there are a lot of exercises that I give during the happiness team that allows you to really discover and then plot in what we call a value galaxy, all the things you find meaning in. And more than that, you go deeper into what I call value themes. It's like, wow, those kind of things are really interesting to me. So what else can I think about? And then you see relationships between values and how they merge together. And I can actually get to the point where I can produce new values, right? So the first thing is answering the question, who am I and what do I love, right? The second question is, what do I want? What do I want now? From all the things that are available to you, where do you think you can either continue to pursue, maybe in a deeper way, or pursue something different in one of your domains of like career or relationship or health and rejuvenation or wealth creation? And then you choose one thing. And that's the part where we talk about in the happiness team called commitment. You're committing to saying this value, if I get that, it will send shockwaves across my life and will increase my self-esteem and my happiness. And then you make a plan. This is where you start being an analyst, right? A project manager. Here's what I want. Here's how it's going to look like when I get it. This is how it's going to impact my life. Those are all the prerequisites I have to do. Those are the obstacles I'm going to hit. This is how this is my strategy to overcome those obstacles. And we give you the power of some kind of an accountability team that can help you with ideas, solution strategies, networking, and so on and so forth. So you said, I defined what I want. Now I'm going to go and get it. Because there's one mindset of planning and strategizing. It's a different mindset to go out and fight the battle, right? We call it the balcony or the dance floor. When you're dancing, you're fighting, you can't strategize. So being fully committed to pursuing. And then when you're pursuing the actual pursuit, you have to do two things: pursue very effectively and keep your motivation and adjust as needed, and also monitor your emotional states. So it's a loop of what I call really self-discovery, right? And just observing yourself. It's observation, self-observation. Then you analyze, then you commit, and then you pursue and monitor your emotional states. And it's like a spiral that gets wider and wider, where you enrich your life with more and more values. As you do that, talking about habits, they're like happiness habits. I wake up every day before I just really get out of bed. It's like, what am I doing today? Is it serving my highest values? Am I going to spend time doing things that don't matter or do matter? How can I optimize for pursuing more of my values that are chosen to me? What else can I want, right? And so it's always a beautiful dynamics of making a life as rich as possible with values, with engagements, with experiences, with getting new things, buying a new, something that I really want. And having, it develops this attitude towards life of like a child. And the way I look on life is that it's like a sandbox of opportunities. So I pay way less attention to people that are stupid, are evil, the politics around me, unless politics is my thing, right? But what can I do about the things that, Biden is a stupid president? What can I do about it, right? So I just live my life and focus on my values. The happiness team that I created is really an outline of things that I tried on myself for many years. A lot of the things didn't work, and where I tried to push myself, and a lot of things did work. It's like a combination, like building on Rand's philosophy, and a lot of psychological tools, a lot of management tools that I've learned how to manage myself, and to be rigorous. And more than anything, having the attitude of like, I deserve happiness. It's mine. I don't owe anyone anything. And my goal between now and the day I die is to pursue as many values and experience as much as I can.
So can you just give us the pitch? So there will be a conference organized by the Ayn Rand Institute and the Ayn Rand Center Latin America.
First, if somebody wants to join I had several Brazilians. They're always a lot of fun. If somebody wants to join the happiness team, we're starting one this Friday. So in a couple of days, you go to myhappiness.team and you can apply there and register. You also have to act quick. If not this one, we are doing one approximately every 2 months, 3 months. So that's the happiness team. And then we're going to be in Brazil, the Ayn Rand Institute and the Ayn Rand Center Latin America together on September 22nd and 23rd. We're going to be in Sao Paulo. It's going to be an unbelievably exciting opportunity to get to understand Rand's thought and work in a much deeper way. We're bringing the best minds in objectivism to Sao Paulo. And if it doesn't matter if you agree with Rand, you disagree with Rand, you've read a lot, you haven't read much, come and join us, because that's the perfect opportunity to ask all the questions. You know, I know that religion is a big thing for a lot of people. Come ask questions. I know so many people that were concerned about coming, and they came out with like, wow, I got so much to think about. And if you're a student of objectivism, come and ask advanced questions. So it doesn't matter if you read Atlas or you read the Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology. I don't care. It's for you, and it's going to be, we're going to have lectures, but also a lot of time for Q&A and socializing. So there's going to be a lot of getting togethers. You'll have an opportunity to ask all the questions about life, about Rand's philosophy and happiness.
Before we end, let's reinforce the invitation to be with us in September 22nd, 23rd in São Paulo for our conference, the only conference this year, so you don't want to miss it. We are
and
going
by the
to
way,
be...
I will just add, Mateos, that if you're a student and you don't live in São Paulo and you want to some help getting there, just reach out to us and let us know. We do have scholarships available.
So you are all invited to be with us. Ricardo, me, Tal, everybody's going to be in São Paulo to share the experiences and discuss a lot about life, happiness, and of course, objectivism. So again, thanks, Tal, for this interview. And this content will be available for our viewers in Portuguese language over the week. So let's get together in São Paulo and enjoy life.
Hopefully.
Thanks.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me, and can't wait to see you later this month.
So bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.